Tell us about your experience as a pro weightlifter, because you trained under Glenn and Donnie then when you were a pro, or tell us more about that experience.
Yeah. So when I first got to Cal Strength, I had and Donnie as my coach.
Mhm.
Dave Spitz was the overseer of everything,
Okay.
the owner of Cal Strength. So Dave was my coach, but Donnie was my coach as well. There was Max Ada there, and then we had Alex Krychev and as a coach, and even Yasha Faye came out and was a coach. So I just had just this amazing people in my corner, and as a starting out with my professional career, and just looking back, I'm just so blessed,
Yeah.
and then actually Coach Penley came in probably like 8 months, 9 months into Cal Strength,
Okay.
close to a year.
Hmm.
Coach Penley came in, took over, and that was one of the greatest days of my life. Being a pro athlete in weightlifting, well, it's kind of like the Jack Nicholson movie,
Hmm.
The Shining.
Okay, this is an interesting comparison.
Yeah, because you're you start to lose your mind a little bit. I
Mm.
think that being a professional weightlifter, the hardest thing I had to battle is my mental health. And just you start to kind of lose your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
I always like to say we didn't have training sessions. It was just one session every day, all day. It was from like 8 a.m. to 8 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
and that's all we did. That's
Mm.
all we did. We had no life. We didn't have jobs. We didn't go to work. I dropped out of college when I went to Sac State,
Wow.
Sacramento. So I was out of school. And so all you're doing is training. And over time, you could understand that you kind of start to lose your mind a little bit,
Sure.
and even on Sundays, it's still controlled.
Yeah.
Coach is still taking you to the fitness club. We're doing sauna, steam room, hot tub laps,
Mm.
5 rounds there. Then it's team dinner. And then it's team meetings. And
Mm.
then it's off to bed. And then Monday hits.
Right.
Where there's meets that we constantly did on the weekend. So, I just remember having a hard time. I was finding out who I was, or trying to find out who I was at that time.
Hmm.
But you're so sheltered with the barbell
Right.
that you have to have an outlet. And that's why I started writing in my blog. That really helped me. Um, you see in weightlifting, a lot of people, the hard training creates a dark cloud,
Hmm.
and that dark cloud can turn into negativity and finger pointing. I've seen it for so many years, and I feel like I did a really good job of never letting that uh, kind of infect me.
Hmm.
And being able to write was the one thing that kept my head above water.
Mm.
So the actual training itself, bring it on.
Yeah.
I could train all day, every day, and I did. And even though I was in pain and it hurt and it was tough, bring it on. That's the easy part.
Yeah.
But it's just keeping your mind focused and positive was the tricky part.
I think the more we learn about the science behind all this training too, the more we're realizing that it depletes your body, and
Yeah.
it blows out your CNS, your nervous system, and sometimes you just have to recover from that. And the older I get, the more I've been able to see that on my mental state. After a hard training day, the next day, if there's a dark cloud hanging over me, well, why is that? And it's still the discipline of training is important. Um, but this is where it comes down to kind of a balance of training, life,
Yeah.
play.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
You said it best too, because we were such a close team. Like me and Jared Enterton, we played Call of Duty at night. Like that was everything.
Yeah.
Like I can literally attribute multiple different US teams and gold medals to playing Call of Duty.
Hmm.
If you're thinking like that doesn't make sense, what are you talking about? Well, it does. Like you just got done saying, you got to have that balance. You got to have that shut off where you can kind of escape the world of weightlifting for a little bit. Me and Donnie, we probably put down 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I'll just be honest. So
Never heard of or haven't heard of many pro athletes smoking
yeah,
2 cigarettes a day, you know?
yeah. I mean, maybe a pack, maybe, there's probably some days where it was close to 2, but any chance we got, we went outside behind the gym and had a cigarette together. And that was the most important thing I did in my training. The single most important thing I did was smoke cigarettes with Donnie. It elevated my training to new heights. If I had to go back and pick one thing that produced gold medals in weightlifting, it was smoking with Donnie. I'm dead serious. Coach Penlay up in heaven right now.
Yeah.
I would say almost Coach Penlay's coaching was secondary, but it was part of Coach Penlay. So Coach Penlay obviously takes the cake with all my success. But it was Coach Penlay's atmosphere that he created, the world of Penlay, where Penlay was 100% okay, even to a certain extent of encouraging the behind the gym breaks that me and Donnie took. Because Coach Penlay knew it was good for me and Donnie to step outside and talk.
Yeah.
To reflect, to bond, to vent, to express, or just to not talk, feel the air on our face, take some drags of smoke, take a deep breath, and then go back in the gym for more training.
Yeah.
And I'm not encouraging cigarette smoking. People out there listening can understand what I'm saying and maybe do that same thing with your job or your training with something obviously more healthy.
Sure. But there's a balance, and an occasional drink, an occasional cigar. There are people that can't allow any of that, right? They just can't stop at one. But if you can, sometimes a release of some sort like that, as long as it's moderated, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. It kind of just allows you to detach from what's going on.
Yeah. Because I had the Call of Duty, like you said, at the Call of Duty, I had the smoke breaks with Donnie, which were so intimate. I wouldn't replace them for anything. And then there's one more thing: the Call of Duty, the smoke breaks. And then the writing, of course, and then my time at Starbucks writing. So those 3 things right there, those 3 things were like my foundation that held up the training.
Right.
So for anybody listening out there, like my advice would be find like 2 or 3 or 4 things that holds you mentally strong, that's going to affect your training in that positive way. Find those things. Those were my things. Killing zombies with Enderton at night on the sticks, smoking cigarettes with Donnie, writing in my blog, and then really just the team atmosphere, like going out and having dinners with the team at Coach Penlay's house, going to Costco to eat the samples. Like these things are a must when you're training as hard as we're training. Because I think also too, the hard part for me being back in the day, being a professional weightlifter was the pressure that was constantly weighing on you.
Yeah.
That was a tough thing for me to handle. Of the big meets, of the battles, of the people coming at you, of the haters, of the negativity that's being thrown at you, and the pressure of succeeding, but also the pressure of not failing. As a young man who was really just coming off a very dark world, that was tough for me.
Yeah. Well, I don't think people realize the strategy that goes into weightlifting, and that it's more than just throwing weight over your head. One, there's thousands and thousands of hours of technical training that goes into this. But then when you're competing, I got my first little taste of it with the Gladiator Weightlifting League, back in January, and you just want to do a pound better than the next guy. But there's somebody else puts up one weight. Well, time for you to hit the next weight, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You soon quickly realize that it's not just for fun anymore. No.
Gotta win.
Soon like, wait a minute. I'm making a lot of money. I have a lot of sponsorships. Everything is paid for. My housing, my travel, my my hotels, everything is taken care of for. Like you're fully taken care of.
Yeah.
you know, and all you have, but, right. But you have to perform.
Right.
Like,
Mm.
besides a few elites in the country right now, like, I don't think a lot of people have experienced that, where
Yeah.
it's like, if you don't perform, you're cut off,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think nowadays there's a lot of athletes who are entitled, saying, this is how I want it, this is how I feel.
Hmm.
It's too much. Back then I was just fighting to stay on the team. I was fighting just to, you know, I didn't want to go back to a crack house. I didn't want to be a quitter.
Where would you have ended up if you didn't have the team? If you did.
It's tough. That's a great question. I've never had anybody ask that. Like, let's say I got kicked off and I could never lift again. Um, having my at the time, my girlfriend in my corner, though, Jessica, and was a lifesaver for me. So, um, I don't know. Maybe UFC fighting. I would have been a fighter. I always say I should have gotten a UFC, but
Hey, your
I
your
don't.
brain's probably better off for not doing that.
Yeah. Before I joined Cal Strength, though, I signed up for the police academy,
Okay.
and before I met Donnie at the local meet, and so, but like, I signed up for the police academy, and like a week later, I did a local meet, and that's when I met Donnie and got invited out to Cal Strength. So I pulled out. So that could have been an option.
Yeah. How old were you guys when you were training at Cal Strength? I'm curious as to how much older he was than you, if he was even older to be
Yeah.
a mentor to you, because they always
So
say men need to have somebody they're being mentored by, somebody that's a peer, and then somebody that they mentee or they mentor as well.
right, yeah. So when I got to Cal Strength, I was 23.
Okay.
Donnie was 26.
Okay. Yeah. So you looked up to him just kind of going into it already.
Yeah.
Perspective.
Yeah. So he's a few years older, and and he was lifting a lot longer than he's been lifting a long time before he met me.